Hey guys, my name is DrSharnael Wolverton. I am here at the farm in Utah. I want to give you a quick look at this because it's so beautiful. We're here, and there's a distillery, and there's a welcome center for the lavender, a ton of flowers, lots of cool mountains. I wish you could see everything. There's like a little western place over there. Gary really made a lot of fun, like Disney here. And there's a little place over here is where people can like do little things. So like over here are the lavender fields. It's just really beautiful. I choose to share something with you because right before all of this stuff happened, as you guys know, some of you, I was studying the greats like Disney and Spielberg and some of the people who've done some really cool things and people that I admire. And I'm kind of a documentary buff, and was also doing a lot of coaching with my mentoring groups because groups are where it's at. I'm putting some things together, and I had written some things out, and I choose to just go ahead and post a video too. I'm gonna take some time later to verbally handwrite or text this to put it in the post. But for now, I'm gonna do this without crying. I just want to lay some things out to give everybody a different view of maybe what all this is about, and how this can even apply to you. With the passing of my friend and our brilliant founder, I will say I'm a doctor because of him. Like, I went back to school and finished my doctorate as a naturopathic doctor because of Gary's inspiration. Like, he literally changed my entire career from ministry to a big huger ministry. And I choose to give you this is I got a revelation about Jesus and how Jesus, he said that we would do greater things than these. And that was one of Gary's absolutely favorite verses. He talked about that all the time, and how the impossible was nothing because God's in us doing the impossible daily. And I was constantly aware of Gary's belief in me to do the impossible because he lived the impossible every day. And if we think about Jesus and we think about the garden, even going back to the beginning of all things, you know, we were in the garden, and then we were in union. There was no work. There was communication only via union of loving and speaking and creating and manifesting and co-laboring, co-missioning, I should say, with God, because there wasn't labor. There was no effort in the garden. We just created. Adam gave the names to all the animals. It was brilliant, and we still have that capacity. The thing is, what happened is there was a choice made to do something separate outside of God for the first time ever. And the consequence the consequence of that was separation. And again, I've talked about this before. It's not the consequence. The consequence wasn't separation, but it was more the illusion of separation. Because when Jesus came back, I had taught this in the past, that when Jesus came back, his dying on the cross was what gave us that ability to go back to union with him and have access to all the things that he is within us. The kingdom of God is within. And to be honest, after reflection and talking with Candace Weaver, I realized, looking at the scriptures, it isn't the cross that gave us access. We had access all along. It was just our illusion that we were separate. So when Jesus hit the ground, got here, was born, right from the beginning, his message and everything that he said and everything he did was, remember, the kingdom of God is within. The kingdom of God is within. The kingdom of God is within. And although many translations of the Bible refer to this outside God, Jesus always talked about how he's within. And if you look at the original intent and or translations of Hebrew Greek, it's not outside God. It's, instead of he was with us, or he went before us, or the Spirit of God was on him. In reality, if you look at the real scriptures, it says he was in him, he was in him, he was in him, he was in him. God is in you. He's in me. The kingdom of God is still within. And when he died on the cross, that was only an anchor, a visual for us to see that old man's dead, and we were raised up in new man, which is kingdom of God is within. And we get to do things all new with remembering that he is within. And then he came back to us, and when he did, he was like, hey, ta-da, resurrection, I'm here. Look at the power that you guys all have, because you get to do greater things than these, including resurrection, including whatever. And they say that there's books and books and books not written of all the miracles that Jesus did. And yet we get to do all of them and more, which is super crazy, right? So before he left, he said to us, Jesus, he said, now I gotta go. I'm going to leave. I'm going to go somewhere else. And he had to go somewhere else, because if he stayed, we would still see him as a separate God outside, somewhere else. Not remembering the whole message, which is the kingdom of God is still within. And you could see how on a human level, if we saw Jesus walk around, that we would maybe think we have less power because he's the one with the power, that guy. And instead of remembering the kingdom of God is within, and that I have access to all the things that God is, greater things than these. I can remember, I can see, I can heal, I can know, I can do miracles and have power. And I am power, and I am peace, and I have access to peace, and all those things because he's in. He's in, he's in, he's in, and God is all those things. And so Jesus left, and now he is in all of us, and that's why when I am with other people, when I hug them, when I look in their eyes, I make a point to remember God is in that person, and I love the God in that person. And I encourage you with everyone that you see today, and everyone you hug and everyone you contact, whether at the bank or the grocery store or behind the counter or wherever, that you are looking with God's eyes and seeing God in everyone, because God is in all of us now. It says even the commandments, it's like forget the outside commandments, because we have a new commandment, which is love, the royal law, which is written on our hearts, because he's in. It's the kingdom of God is within. So what does all this mean with the passing of Gary? I can remember so many times in his living room, specifically 2 times, Mary talking to him and just saying like, hey, you're one man, okay? Because he would talk about all these plans and the things, and he wanted to be everywhere, and he was talking to us about like what to do and where to go, and he was a man still, although he was energy beyond any person I've ever been in contact with. The guy did not sleep, he did not eat. If you're ever with him, you bring snacks and you rest up before you get there, because you're going to do an 18-hour day and we're not going to stop to eat. And so you better have a plan on eating. Some brings a bar or 2 and some water. He would energize any one of us on any day. I mean, there were trips like literally we were crying like lots of grown men crying because they just could not go another minute, and they were like begging him, please, can we have a couple hours just to sleep? Can we go to bed before 2 o'clock in the morning and not get up at 4, just like one time? And but he is just this strong energy. And he did not get tired, but Mary would constantly choose to have access to him and have him available with the kids, of course, as a normal wife. And, she had to share him with the world. And there were so many things, he would meet with kings and government officials and heads of hospitals and clinics. And, he went to Ecuador and literally built not only the distillery, but he hired people who couldn't speak English, so he started English lessons. And then he found out when they would come to sign their checks to get their paycheck that they didn't know how to write. And because Gary didn't learn how to read till he was 24, he understood that. So then he started doing adult classes teaching people how to read and write. And then he saw their homes that didn't have toilets and running water or electricity, so he built subdivisions for the people that worked for him, so they all had places to live. And then he built schools so the kids could go to a school that actually had a real toilet and electricity and running water, and he had to go through lots of different things to make that happen. And then he built restaurants so the people didn't have to leave the field to go far away to eat, and he wanted them to eat good for you food and not like crap food. So he brought in cooks and restaurants and built schools for the kids, and then he hired the wives of these people to be cooks and to work right on the property. So I'm telling you, when he went to like Ecuador, everyone knew him, and he did this to all the distilleries everywhere he went. I mean, he just would change the whole place. He had such big vision, and when we went to Ecuador or anywhere, people would just, oh my gosh, Gary Young, Gary Young, Gary Young. And all that to say, he was still only one person, and he could have been a million places at once at all times and done a very effective thing. He would always say things like, if we could just clone him and have like 10 of him or 15 of him or 20 of him, so we could get more done and we could all have him to do things. And I'm shaking, sorry. And now he has gone to be with the Lord. He has ascended. And yet we have him in our hearts. And now if you really listen and you really tune in, I know that you'll hear what he would say to you, even if you never met him. And we get to not just see God in everyone, but to remember that that illusion is still separation, and that God is still in everyone here, and that we're all connected, and that we all get a little sliver DNA of who he is and who God is, and we get to carry out the vision of what Gary had on an individual basis, our way. And that's our way of still seeing Gary and everybody, because there's a very specific DNA to all of us of who knew him and walked with him and felt his love and gathered the code of his biofield, and he is love on legs. And you get that opportunity every time you put an oil on. It's the essence of who he is and what he believed in and his vision for life and love and for changing the world. And you get access to him now if you really tune in and you really listen and you choose to know how to do this now without him being physically here. If we could just remember that he's still here and not say goodbye. Rumi has a really awesome post about like saying goodbyes are not necessary, because goodbyes are only for people who see with their eyes. Again, that outside person here. But real relationship is in here, and he's with us, and he's with us now, everywhere. He's with you right now. He's with me, and I'm on the farm right here, the place that he loves so much. And I'm just encouraging you guys to carry the torch and to tune in. I've had 3 dreams about him and us and the steps, and I know even the time, because he died at 3:55, which had to do with hinds feet in hind places and him setting us off as lovely fawns to do his work. And as we remember that the kingdom of God was with him too, and he was carrying on God's mission in his life, that we get to carry a piece of God's mission still with what he carried and whatever it is that you carry. And we get to do it our way. But if you can carry it in the integrity and the authenticity and the love and the vibe of God, and just remember him and his legacy. The memorial yesterday, it reminded me of Princess Diana's. Like, it was so, seeing the boys walk behind him with the horses and everything, and the bagpipes and all of that. It was just like, wow. It felt like royalty, and it was interesting. I said that to everybody around us, and then Robert Stevens actually posted something the same, like so I'm not the only one who got that. And again, just remember that the kingdom of God is within. Gary knew that. Gary was the essence of understanding that and remembered that and doing the impossible every day, and we get to do that. And I just adore you all. I love all of you so much. I hope you feel my love right now. And I just ask you to remember God in you, and to remember that you have that access. You have peace, you have wealth, prosperity, you have divine health. God is in you, the kingdom of God is within you. And we can make a difference today. Everywhere we go, we could give love, send love, be love, hug with love, hug with intent, make eye contact, speak and be present. You know, God is the only power and presence acting to me, through me, in me, and around me now. And I choose for you to feel that and to know that and to remember and remind that today. And I love you. Share and tag whoever you choose. I choose to get this message out that God, for whatever reason, had to have Gary back for us to have him everywhere in us. And he's still here. Just tune in, all right? The burial is tomorrow. But my victory for that. I love you. All right, bye.